Amazing. Perfect. How to make great pizza at home. This is one of the pizza I made. I'm very proud of the pizza. And my name is Ju. I was born in China. I grew up in Italy, and that's what gives me the right to talk about pizza. And I've been living in the UK for 5 years. I work for this company called No Red Inc., where we teach writing to kids. I want to talk about this movie called Memento. It's this psychological thriller. And this image that you can see in the background is basically the chronological order of the story and the order of the scenes. And you see like it's all this big mess. It's like you see that the movie starts at the end and then it jumps forward and back. And basically what this has to do with the talk today is that I'm going to do the same with making pizza. And also this is a piece of the movie. So yeah. Okay, pizza time. I prepared this little website called pizza.juliu.is. I'm going to paste this in the chat. Perfect. So in theory, you're supposed to read these things in order, but unfortunately, due to time constraints today, I had to do some pre-work in advance. So we're going to do a little bit of memento here and going to start with the baking a little bit. We'll pause that, go back to ingredients, and then go to mixing and kneading. Okay, so let me see if I have my setup here. I should have something called, camera, quick camera. That's the app I'm looking for. And in this app, I should be able to choose another webcam, which I've set up. Amazing. You should be able to see my workspace. And here is the dough that I've prepared in advance for today. What I want to show is that basically, if you've done everything right, you should be able some of these bubbles. You can see like on the surface, it's like mostly flat, but you can see some of these like small bubbles like coming up. And that's when you know that the dough has risen, right? Like, so if you don't see those, it means that you have to let the dough rise just a little bit more. But basically when you see these like little dots, you know, okay, it's time to go. So let me put this away. And I want to show just like on the website, so hungry now. So what I did in order to be ready today is that I prepared this yesterday and then I put the dough in the fridge, just covered with some plastic wrap. So what I did 2 hours ago, maybe 3 hours ago, is that I took the dough out of the fridge and I put it in the oven off, but with the light on. And it should be around like 26 or 27 degrees when you do that. And it's like the perfect temperature for the dough to come back to the right temperature. So what we're going to do now is to preheat our oven. I have a baking stone, which is great, but if you don't have one, you can use a metal tray. So I can show you my baking stone. Right. I'm not sure if you can see it. Like I can't see myself. I hope you can see it, but it's like this piece of stone and you just put it in the oven and it warms up. So I'm going to do that. Alrighty, perfect. So I've done this, and now I'm going to take the dough and to divide it. So I have this little thing, which is a dough scraper, which is very useful. So let me just show you how it's done. Here, you just basically get this big flappy dough into your workspace, and then you use the dough scraper to just cut it into 2 holes, right? And you can see they're quite nice. And we're going to do something now because you can see like they're quite floppy, right? So this is not exactly the consistency that you want. So I'm just going to use first a little bit of flour very little, just like so that it doesn't stick too much to the workspace. And then I'm going to do this. I'm going to close them on itself and then round them at the bottom. You can see like you're basically squishing them, but below. And by doing that, you're sort of stretching the dough at the top. And you'll see that the more you do this, like before we had this sort of like floppy ball, but you just do this like 4 or 5 times, and you can see that the ball becomes like really, really nicely elastic. And you can see it because also at the top, it becomes quite smooth. You can see like look at the difference between the left one and the right one. I mean, I'm not sure which one is your right and which one is my right, but you get what I'm saying. So I'm going to do the same on this one and just keeping doing this sort of stretching of these dough balls until they become, nice and sort of elastic. Yeah. And I think now they're perfectly ready. So we're going to cover them with some plastic wrap. And we're going to leave this just to rise a little bit more for like half an hour or so. So we should be able to use them later to bake our pizza. I'll just quickly wash my hands. I was watching Ian's talk before about, anxiety and baking. And yeah, definitely like baking is not a relaxing experience, especially not doing like in front of other people. But anyways, I'm going to check the chat if there's some questions. Oh, Italian care very much about food. Yes. The stone can be bought in home maintenance store. I bought it on Amazon. Yes. Real cooking show. Beautiful. Thank you so much. Okay, cool. I'll move on, but I'll be back here to check on the chat. Yeah. So we've done this. We've covered them with plastic wrap. We can make the sauce right now. I think that's a good idea. So I'm just going to get a little bowl. And the sauce is like very simple. Just like get like a little bit of like tomato. I bought this tomato passata, but I added some brands which I think are good, but really depends on like what you can find. But usually I would try to get like these sort of like sieved tomatoes and not like the crushed ones or like the whole ones, because it's going to be much more difficult. So I'm just adding a little bit more salt, a little swirl of like olive oil, extra virgin if you can find it. And then I got some oregano and just put loads of it. Like usually you can't go wrong like by putting loads of oregano. And then I'm going to get a spoon, give it a nice swirl. And you can see like I put like a lot of oregano, but it's almost disappeared. So I think this looks good for now. And yeah, there's the sauce. Okay, so we prepared the sauce. I'm going to show you the mozzarella. Beforehand, I took the mozzarella and I just broke it with my hands into little bits, and I put it on a strainer so that it releases all the water. We want to do this so that when we bake the pizza, all that water doesn't make our pizza soggy. So like sometimes I even squeeze it with my hands, but this one was quite dry, so I don't think I need to do that. So we have the mozzarella. I'm going to put it here, actually. All right. Let me check the chat again. Okay, perfect. So I've done this. Okay, so this is the other memento part of this talk where we can't do this yet. So I'm going to go back to the ingredients. Right, so this was supposed to be the beginning, but it's not. So what we're going to use today to make the dough is some white flour, some strong white flour, some plain white flour. If you just have strong white, you can just use 500 grams of strong white. the recipe, like usually I use, has like this mixture. I don't know why, it sounds cool. So I think mainly that's the reason I'm doing that. Then some water, some dry yeast. If you have your own sourdough, you can use that, but I didn't really want to put the pressure on you. So like I'm going to do this with dry yeast, some olive oil and some salt. Okay, so this is for the dough. And I think with all of this, we can start going to the mixing and kneading bit, right? Let me switch. Maybe I can do this. I can keep this on the side so we can see both the instructions and what I'm trying to do. So I have just like this scale. I'm going to put this on, and I have prepared 300 milliliters of like water. I wrote lukewarm, but I think room temperature is fine. And then I just use this dry yeast. I've used half of it last time, so this is exactly 7 grams. So half of it is just 3.5. So I'm just going to take all this yeast and drop it into the water. Well, if I can. And basically what we want to do is just like to let all this yeast dissolve into the water. So you see like when you just put it in, it won't dissolve. So you have to take a little spoon and just, mix it a little bit. And you see that like slowly the water will just basically absorb all the yeast. Okay, I'm going to check if there's like some questions or comments. Water. Oh, yeah. I think. Yeah, like it shouldn't be too hot. Like it should definitely not be too hot, not too cold. So people say like lukewarm. I just like put it out and let it rest at room temperature for like an hour or something, and it's never failed me. At this point, there's people that say that you should add some sugar or some honey to the water to help the yeast, but I don't think it's truly necessary. So I've been trying to remove ingredients from the recipe, and I don't think it really changes anything. So my scientific experiment has proven that honey isn't necessary. Okay. Right. So we've mixed the water with the thing, and we can tick that off the box. So like when I use this, it's great because you see like since I'm a web developer, I had to build a web app to do this, but it keeps track of the checkboxes you ticked, so I won't lose track. Okay, so now it's time to mix the flours. So I have a bowl. Right, cool. So we're going to put 300 grams of plain white. There we go. And then 200 grams of strong white. And I mean, I think at this bit you can be quite creative. Like if you want to add some wholemeal flour, like anything like that, that's cool too. Like you just have to be a bit careful with the proportions, because usually wholemeal flour means that you need to add more water because you will absorb more water. So, and now I'm just like mixing the flours together with the, Alrighty, cool. Don't need this anymore. I can tick. Okay, so this is this optional step. I think like really cool bakers, they always do this, is that after you mix the water and the yeast with the flour, you let it rest. And the reason why you want to do that is that supposedly you help the creation of like this gluten mesh within the dough, and it's called autolysis or something. So if you want to, you could at this point just pause and leave this thing to rest for like half an hour. I'm not going to do this today because we don't have time, but you know, like if you read some fancy recipes, they will do that. And they say just, and you just cover it with a sort of like humid piece of cloth and let it rest like this for half an hour. Okay, so I've done that. We're not going to do this, and now we're going to add salt. So prepare some salt, and I'm just going to sprinkle it like on top. Usually what I like to do at this point is to wet my hands a little bit so that when I start mixing, the salt will, you know, just won't really stick to my hands. Right, I think this is the time to start kneading. So I'm going to read. Okay, cool. There's some suggestions on how you should measure the temperature of the water. And so if you've never done this before, if you've never kneaded like dough, I think you have to have some faith that things are going to work. So at some point, like every time like you do it, depending on the flour and everything that you use, the dough will behave slightly differently, but you have to trust the process. Like, so eventually things will turn out okay. You just have to not panic, right? And you see like now what I'm doing, I'm trying to sort of fold the dough over itself and close it. And I can see that at the bottom of the bowl, there's still some dry flour. So maybe I'll just add like a little bit more water, you know, not much, just enough to sort of like make everything a bit stickier. So, right. I'm annoyed I won't be eating pizza for dinner. I think pizza is like one of those things that you can't really get wrong. Like if you try to make it, like nothing can really go catastrophically wrong. Like if you're trying to make bread for the first time, there are cases where the bread just like remains super flat and looks disgusting. But if you're making pizza, I feel like you can't really get it too wrong. Like even if the pizza doesn't rise that much, it's fine as long as it's properly cooked. Like, you know, it's going to be good. And also you're going to put tomato sauce and mozzarella on top. So really like, it's like very like low risk as a sort of endeavor. Okay, I wanted to show you all this. Is that like, you know, like when you start kneading, your hands, they get sticky. That's fine, don't panic. Just, you know, keep having faith and trusting the process. And you can also see that the dough is sticking to the sides of your bowl, which is quite annoying, especially for me because I have like OCD about that. So you can buy this really cheap piece of plastic. It has like this sort of round little thing, and it's so good because you can just do this and it cleans the bowl perfectly. So it's so satisfying. And look, the bowl is like pristine. Perfect. And you see, like I haven't been kneading for too long, and I can already feel that the dough is sort of like getting stronger. And you notice because when you keep kneading, the dough is sort of like fighting back, and I can feel it. So I'm going to show you real quick how it looks, because apart from the feel, you can also see it. If you look at it, it has become already like almost like smooth on the outside. So I think like this gives me like really good faith that's like going well, right? It's not sticking to my hands as much as before. And you can see like in some places, like on the surface, it's like really smooth. So I'm just going to quickly wash my hands now. Alrighty. Awesome. I now realize I've forgotten to do something, which is to weigh my olive oil. So for these 500 grams of dough, I'm going to put 35 grams of olive oil, which seems like a lot, but even there, you gotta trust the process. So I'm going to weigh 35 grams or milliliters of oil. There we go. And you see, like, it's a lot of oil. So like when I pour it in, you can see that it's sort of weird. Like, this is definitely something that caused me like quite a lot of anxiety the first time I made this, because it feels like there's too much oil. Like, it feels like the dough will never be able to absorb all this oil. And I don't know, I don't know, like the first time you're doing it, like it's just quite it stressed me out. I can clearly remember. But even here, you just have to trust the process, keep folding the dough on itself and pressing it and kneading it. And you'll see that in like a couple of minutes, the dough will absorb basically all of the oil in the bowl. And that's also why the pizza is so delicious, because, you know, it has all this hidden oil inside, not just like on the outside. And I think that's why, you know, people really advocate for getting like good olive oil, because like that's what, you know, gives like so much more flavor to the dough. And you can see that I'm doing it and the dough is breaking a little bit, and that's fine. Don't worry, just like keep doing that. Keep like folding the dough on itself. And, you know, maybe I said this before, but you just have to have faith that the recipe is going to work. And eventually it's going to work, because it's physics, basically. Right. And you can see I'm just like pushing this against itself. And I think it's already, like if you compare it to before, you can see that there's not that much oil left in this bowl. Like most of it has been already absorbed by it. Right, okay, cool. And if I just like flip it a bit more, my hands are obscenely covered with oil, but you can see that the dough is sort of turning into like smooth again. Right, I think this is like good enough. I'm gonna wash my hands. Alrighty, okay, so this is like a very important bit of the whole process. I think I skipped this, yes. So if it's not smooth and elastic, so I think normally maybe here I would still need it a bit more. Actually, let me do that, because I really want to show you like how it should look like, because you can see like now, like on the surface, it's not really uniform yet. But if you keep kneading for like a few more minutes, you'll see that it really becomes uniform and smooth, and well, it just looks good as well. So you know that like you're getting somewhere. I didn't want to do it because every time I do it, I need to wash my hands. So, and this is also the reason why you know that, you know, Italian grandmas, they're like really strong, because they spend all their time just kneading. So you should never anger them really, otherwise you're going to get a beating. I guess in these times it's also like a good alternative to going to the gym. Just like knead your bread and your pizza every day. You'll get super strong. The fact that I'm, you know, struggling shows like how out of shape I am. Anywho, so you can see that now it looks much better. You know, you can feel it, like it's like it feels good as well, like when you're sort of like closing it on itself to make like this tight ball. All right. And there's literally like no more oil at the bottom of this bowl. It's like completely been absorbed by the dough. All right, and if that doesn't happen, just keep kneading. It will turn into this. Let me see if there's some comments. This looks great to me. Cool. Right, so this is like one of the important bits I was mentioning, like to do a fold on the dough. So the reason why you want to do that is that it increases how strong the dough becomes. Like you can see, like if now I touch it, it's quite soft. So we're going to do this. We're going to lift it from one end. We're going to sort of shake it a little bit, and then we're going to flip it on itself and close it. Now we're going to rotate it by 90 degrees and do the same thing. Pick it up from one end, shake it a little bit, close it on itself. And then we just do this like a few more times. If you notice your dough getting stuck, you can add a little bit more olive oil to your bowl. Usually this doesn't happen. You just shake it a little bit and fold it on itself. And I'll do it like one more time. Just grab it from one end. And you can see like when you start struggling, it means that the dough has become strong enough. So it means like you can probably stop now. Just a tad bit more of olive oil on the sides. Okie dokie. Cool. I'm quite happy with this. Okay, so we've done the fold and we're happy with this. And now what you need to do is to cover this. Usually you can use either like a wet cloth or some plastic wrap, some cling film to just cover it and leave it at room temperature for like 4 to 6 hours. What I did yesterday is that I put it in the fridge. So like the fridge slows down the rising process. So you can just leave it there for up to 2 days, really. So I'm going to tick off this bit as well of our recipe. And just quickly checking on the comments. There's no new comments. Great. Cool. We can go back to kneading now, to baking. So I think I turned on the oven more or less half an hour ago, and I think everything should be pretty hot in the oven. So I think now it's a good time to basically make a pizza, right? So I'm just going to put like a little bit of flour and to grab one of these balls, which we've prepared. And you'll see that this ball has become like really fluffy. And what I want to do now is to like make it like a bit bigger, right? So there's many ways to do it. Definitely what you don't want to do is to take, like a bottle and completely roll it. Because if you do that, like all these little balls that you can see here, like all these little balls, they will pop. So basically like you're making your pizza, worse in a sort of way. And I'm saying just like if you want to make it in the sort of like Neapolitan pizza sort of style, definitely, I'm not judging. And you'll see that it is a little bit difficult to make it into a big, nice pizza. Like usually when you start, it's just like the pizza is so small, and that's not right. So usually what you can do is like you can, maybe you can't see it, but like you can put the pizza on your 2 fists and you can keep like rotating it like a little bit. And you'll see that if you do that, like you're going to stretch the pizza and it's going to become bigger. I'm sorry if you can't exactly see like what I'm doing, but basically you're trying to just like put like the pizza on your 2 fists. And just by this process, it's going to make the pizza big and stretched out, right? And you see like now already it's like looking much better. It's looking almost like a real pizza. And you can feel it like if like there's like bits, like in the middle of the pizza, which are too thick, it means like you have to do this like a little bit more. I can feel like here, like on the sides, like still a little bit thicker than I would like. So I'm just going to keep doing this a little bit. But I think this is more or less like the sides that I'm happy with. Like this sort of, you see like my hand is like, it's like almost like 2 of my hands. Like this is, I think, it's a good size. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to take this little bit like a wooden base, and I'm going to put some baking parchment on it. All right. Perfect. And now we can take our pizza and just drop it on this. You can see like this is how it looks like now. And it's looking like really good. Perfect. So we've done that. We stretched the dough. Now is the time for, so I think one of the tricks for making a good pizza at home is to cook it in 2 steps. You want to cook it the first time with just the tomato sauce and then with the toppings. In this way, like we're doing what we were saying before, that we're not going to let the pizza get too soggy. We're going to leave time for all the liquid stuff on the pizza to dry up, right? So I'm quite happy with how it looks now. So I'm going to start dropping some tomato sauce like that we made before on top of this pizza. And you can be quite, like you can put like quite a lot of it. So yeah, you really want, I mean, I love pizza when it's like full of like tomato sauce. Right. And you really want it to go all the way around the borders as well. Perfect. A little bit more here. Right. Look at that. Perfect. All right. Let me see if there's some questions that I can try to answer. Question: how do you prevent the dough? You just have to need to be a little bit careful with it. Even if it tears, it's not the end of the world. Like you can just like stitch it back together. If you just like try to, I think what I do is like when I put it flat, you can touch the dough. You can feel where it's thick and where it's thin. So I try to expand it in the places where it's thicker. And I always try not to press it too much to avoid popping all these like beautiful bubbles inside. But even if it tears, it's not the end of the world. Like you can just patch it up. It's like perfectly fine. All right, cool. So yeah, it's time to bake. So my stone is ready. So I'm going to pop this inside the oven. And the reason why I put this little bit of parchment paper is like it makes it so easy to pop this into the oven without having to take the stone or the tray out. You just open the oven and yeah, there you go. Alrighty, perfect. Well, I guess you couldn't see that. It's like there's like these problems I haven't foreseen. I love a good soggy Napolitan pizza. Yes, yes. What is the best pizza you have had? What I'm going to make today, I'm going to show you the ingredients that I'm going to use. I'm going to have some artichokes under olive oil. I have some olives. I have some mushrooms, which are here, and some ham. So I think usually this in Italy is called capricciosa. And there's many different recipes, and I think they slightly include different things, but I think it's really nice. So I should try that out. Love making pizza with chicken for the base. Yeah, that's quite controversial. I feel in Italy you wouldn't be able to find that. But I was just reading this book, which is called Pizza, A Global History, and it talks about all sorts of like different like local interpretations of pizza. For example, that in India they have pizza with like curry and shawarma on it. Did you leave the dough on the? Yes. So yeah, the paper does absolutely fine in the oven. It doesn't burn or anything. How can I do this? I wanted to quickly show you. This is going to be tricky because I have everything connected to this. Oh no, maybe I can. I have this like really obsessive compulsive disorder in tying my cables. So my cables are all very short. But you can see like this is how the pizza looks inside the oven right now. You can see that there's like these little balls. They're like these little bubbles. They're coming up. And you can tell that like, like the pizza is cooking quite evenly at the bottom, which is great. Alrighty. I just realized now that I forgot to set a timer. So I'm going to say that it's been in for like 3 minutes. So I'm going to cook it for like 4 more minutes. Okay, tomato sauce and the pizza bake for 6 to 7 minutes. Okay, that's great. I'm going to... Okay, let me see the chat again. Looks so good. Yeah, and also like it just like smells so good. What is it? I was watching Ian's talk before, and he was talking about this 4, 5, 3, 2, 1 sort of like exercise. When you try to use all your senses. And I think like one of the reasons why cooking just like causes you so much is because like when you start baking, the whole house smells like pizza, and even if someone's like in the other room, they will know that like something is happening in this room. Right, looking good. So it's really important, as I said, to do these like 2 batches in the cooking, so that you make sure that like the pizza doesn't become too soggy on the bottom. Right. Let me check if there's like something else I wanted to say. No, that looks good. And just like a quick recap, like just like tomato sauce, some oregano, salt, olive oil, the mozzarella. I have some basil. Let me grab it from the fridge. Right. Just going to quickly wash it under the sink. All right. Cool. So we have the basil and any toppings that you'd like. Cool. So we have. Do you also use fresh oregano? No, I only use the dried one for the sauce. Oh yeah, sorry, I should have shared the link before. Okay, I think we're ready. So let me just get the base and my oven mitts. Always be careful when you're opening the oven. Okay. Amazing. And look, this is how the pizza looks like after like this initial 6 or 7 minutes of cooking. And there's all this steam coming up and everything, and it's great. So now I'm just going to add some of this mozzarella on top. You can be quite liberal about it. I've been having this theory that I might be lactose intolerant, but for some reason this does not apply when I'm eating pizza. I've never been ill after eating pizza, so I'll just believe that. All right. I think this is enough mozzarella for this pizza. All right. And now we're going to add some of those artichokes. The olives. How much time do I have? Yeah, it's plenty. I add some of the mushrooms. And people sometimes also like to add like a swirl of like olive oil before baking this, but I feel like this one has, enough stuff going on. So, and now the ham. Right. And you really want to, be abundant with all the toppings. Perfect. And now it's time to do the second batch. What's your take on pineapple on pizza? I think it's fine. I think I've been so much more, I don't know, open-minded after reading the book. Like, there's this quote in the book that says that Italians might have invented the pizza, but Americans made it so everyone in the world knows like what pizza is. So, I think it's good enough. Right. This time I won't forget to set the timer. In another 7 minutes like this. What's your top 3 choices of cheese for pizza? Oh, sorry. Did you even simmer? No, never simmer the sauce. I always just put it straight as it is from the jar. That's why you want to buy the passata and not the chopped tomatoes, because the chopped tomatoes will have like these bits of tomatoes still in them. Have you ever tried to bake pizza? No, sorry, I was supposed to finish that thought. So that's why you want to use sieved tomatoes or like tomato passata instead of crushed tomatoes. Okay, so I think that's fine. Have you ever tried to bake pizza in a pan and then in the oven? I've seen people do it on the internet, but I feel like usually my kitchen is like in such a horrible state at this point that I don't just have space for anything else. You look like this is how usually it looks like when you're making pizza. You have 15 different containers like full of stuff. So usually I just try to make everything in the oven because I don't know, I just don't have any more space. Oh boy, well, as long as people peach and banana pizza. That's interesting. I think the book says something about there's like this really posh place in London where they put like caviar and things, and it's like 300 quid for a pizza or something. And this is the book. It's called Pizza: A Global History. It's really great. It's really great. I love the bit at the beginning because it says that pizza used to be this food for poor people in Naples. They couldn't really afford having like a kitchen in their homes. So they could only eat fast food at the time. And we're talking like in the 1800s. So the only thing they could do to not be hungry is to go to these pizza places. And sometimes they wouldn't have enough money to buy the whole pizza. And that's why they only bought, half a pizza or like some slices, just, as much as they could afford. And at the time, it was considered this food for like really poor people. So a lot of like famous writers, like the guy that wrote Pinocchio, he went to Naples and said, "Oh, these savages are eating this like filth, like covered like with this like red sauce," and he was like really looking down on them because they were eating pizza. And see nowadays, like nobody would frown if the president of the United States was eating pizza. So that's how evolution works in the food world. Right. There's some. I have seen books for coffee. Cool. Yes, that is the book, Pizza Global History. Cool. How are we going on time? I'm going to quickly show you how the pizza looks like now because I think it's quite interesting. Let me just move my laptop so I don't chuck it around. I hope you can see this. Yeah, this is like, and you see like you really want, for example, that ham to char a little bit, right? Like that's like the perfect way. And you can see like these little bubbles because it's like so hot inside. And that's why it takes like only like a few minutes for all the toppings to really cook properly because the oven is so hot. So, right, cool. I'm going to clean up here a little bit. Maybe I'll remove this. I have 3 more minutes, but I'm very thirsty, so I'm going to get myself another beer. I think I was talking with some friends the other day saying that in Italy, people sometimes they don't even eat the basil. They just put it on the pizza to give it that like nice smell. But I know a lot of friends of mine that they will get the pizza and the first thing they do is to take the basil off, put it to the side of the plate, and then never touch it from that moment on. That's another little fun fact. Maybe I can stop sharing my screen. How do I do that? Stop sharing. Cool. Maybe actually, is it this camera? No, it's the other camera. I'm going to switch to the other. Yeah, this is the camera. Cool. Can't wait to see the finished product. Yes, just 2 minutes. Even though, yeah. I think the mistake that I make every time I make pizza is that it's like a long process, right? So when you get to the first pizza, you're so hungry and excited that usually I just end up eating the first pizza and it's maybe not even properly cooked and I burn my mouth and it's just like such a shit show. But I just like, I'm so much looking forward to it that I can't stop myself. And that's how it sadly ends. Okay, I think we're ready. So I'm going to take it out. Alrighty. And I will show you the final product. I don't know. Can you all see it? It's so difficult. But it looks great. And you can see that if I will try not to burn myself horribly, but if you lift it, you can see at the bottom, it's like really nicely cooked using the baking stone. And that's why I like using it, because it just makes sure that the bottom is like perfectly cooked. I'm going to do one more thing for you and slice it so you can see how it looks like when it's sliced. Right. Oh, it's so hot. And you can see like it's really thin and so hot. I just, I will eat it straight away as soon as we're done with this. Yes, exactly. That's exactly the thing. It's like the difference between homemade pizza and the pizza you eat at the restaurant is that they use this wood fire oven, and that thing goes to 400 degrees. So no matter how hard you try, your home pizza will never be able to get to that level, right? But if you use the pizza, you can sort of at least make sure that the whole oven is around 250, and you just keep it at 250 the whole duration of the process. And at least like you get into a place where you know how your oven works and you have some more control over it. Right. All right. Actually, Gonzalo, like that's a problem because I just made the dough yesterday, right? But now to do the talk, I made a new batch of dough. So tomorrow I will have to bake again. And usually the day after, I just don't feel like eating pizza. So maybe we can arrange something to, get it shipped to your place when I make it. Oh, I forgot something to add the basil. There you go. 1, 2, and 3. And that's the finished pizza. Cool. Oh yeah, my knife. I love it so much. It's my Japanese knife. I think that is all, friends. Is all the pizza for today. And I hope you try it. If you ever feel like try it, you can try to use this little app I've built. So like you can buy all the ingredients and everything, and there's all the steps again. And yeah, thank you so much. I'll see you all soon. Bye.